Hi guys, and welcome back to Wardle Road. Here's another kind of like tutorial video that I'm going to be doing. There is, as I said about a billion times, there is a layout update coming. It's just getting around to filming all the little bits and bobs that I've been working on. But in today's video, I'm going to be renumbering and repainting this Hornby 08, which has come from one of their sort of starter boxes, which I've converted into DCC by soldering in a chip and also installing head and tail lighting. So as you can see, previously I've had a go at weathering it before when I was a lot younger. This engine's probably been sat in the garage now for nearly 10 years, but I've got it working. But what I want to do is respray it into rail match BR blue. So yeah, let's get started. Right, so as I zoom in here, you should be able to see that this engine's got its number and that originally came with it, which is 08513, and of course I want to change this. Also a few years back I put the National Rail, British Rail logo as well on the side, so that's going to have to come off. So first things first is to try and remove that logo and the numbers. So if your Loco has got any of these things, any exterior details that you don't want, the first thing you're going to have to do is to remove them. So you remove the number. I'm just going to use a little bit of sandpaper just to gently, be very careful because you don't want to completely scratch the bodywork, but just to gently remove the number. And I'm going to try and peel these British Rail logos off, and yeah, then we can get on to wrapping the rest of the chassis. Right, so as you can see there, I've filed off the numbers and removed the British Rail logos from either side. Quite happy with that. There's not too much damage on the surface, well, no damage at all really. But when I was fixing the DCC chip to this, I made it virtually impossible to remove the chassis. So what I'm going to do is use some masking tape, some of this masking tape. Let me just zoom out. Use some of this masking tape to wrap around the chassis, and the other bits I want to keep are the yellow and black triangles at the back and the triangles at the front as well. So I'm going to masking tape the whole of this till all we're left with is the body bit here. So yeah, let's get on with that. As you can see there, I've now done a bit of a bodge job, so I'm sure you can do a better job than I did, but I've wrapped this slightly thinner masking tape around the front and this quite heavy duty masking tape all around the base, so only areas where I want to have sprayed are now visible. I've got tape on the front and tape around the edges at the back. Hopefully, if you're following this along, you've got your Loco all wrapped up in tape ready. So the next thing we're going to need to do is mix the paint. So let's get straight to that. Right, so for mixing the paint, I'm going to be using this acrylic thinner. And as I mentioned before, the colour I'm going for is this Rail Match BR Blue. So I posted on Facebook in one of the Facebook groups what the best ratio was to do, and people were saying for every 3 drops of this, 1 drop of acrylic thinner. So I'm going to make some of this up and see what sort of consistency I get. Right, so I've been mixing this for a little while now, and someone said on Facebook, one of the comments was to get it to a milk-like substance. So I think I've done that. So I'm happy with the colour of it. All that's left to do now is to go to my homemade spraying booth and have a go at airbrushing my train. So I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Right, so we're over at my, I say spraying booth, it's literally just an old cupboard drawer. Well, that's it really, it's just an old cupboard drawer with a hand attached on it so I can move it about. But so yeah, we've got the train here, got my paint, got my airbrush. So what all I've got to do here now is pop the lid off. I have checked to make sure that I'm getting the air coming out at a nice consistent rate. So next thing to do is to get your mixed up paint. And then we're just going to pour just a little bit. Don't want to go too much on the first go. And check. So I don't know if you can see, oh you can see there, yeah. Just check that it's not splattering too much and you're getting a nice even coat. So now I'm happy with that. I guess the only thing I can do now is go ahead and spray it. So yeah, let's get on with it. Of course, got to remember to get all the nooks and crannies. Right, so I'm just going to let that dry a little bit and then I'm going to turn it over and do the other side. So I'll be back in a couple of seconds. Right, so I flipped it over now, so all I've got to do now is this side and the roof of the Loco. I didn't actually realise how much paint I'd need, as this is the first time I'm using this particular airbrush, but I mixed up way more than I needed, so yeah, go easy on the paint because I've only poured a little bit in so far and I've already done a third of the Loco, so yeah, something to bear in mind. Right, so I'm just going to leave that now for a little bit to dry. That'll be its first coat, but I think I put a little bit too much thinner in the paint, so again something to bear in mind, but it looks a little bit wetter than I thought it was going to. No, it sounds stupid, but I'm just going to let that dry for a little bit and then give it a second coat. Right, so we've left this overnight, it's the next day now, and I'm going to be honest, I'm actually really pleased with how the spraying has turned out. I don't know if you can see it. The quality is actually really nice. So there's a couple of little bits that I've got through under the tape. As you can see, I've removed all the tape now. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some cotton buds and some IPA, and I'm just going to gently use the cotton buds to remove any excess paint or dirt. So I'm going to really clean the front of this up and the back of this up to get it ready for weathering. And yeah, so all looking rather nice. Let's clean it up. Right, so as you can see from that time lapse, the both ends are much cleaner now, and I've got really nice finish on both sides. So I'm really happy with that actually. Went way better than I thought it was going to do for my first proper attempt at airbrushing. But next thing I need to do now is, well, you need to choose the numbers you want to use, and in this case I'm going to go 08 as it's an 08 class, and then the other numbers are going to be 24. So I've got these Model Master diesel Loco numbers, and simply what you do is you cut the numbers out you want, you leave them in water for 30 seconds, and then using a pair of tweezers you gently move the numbers off the piece of paper onto the Loco. So what I need to do now is cut out the numbers I want, soak them, and then join me in a couple of seconds where we have a go at trying to get them off the paper and onto the Loco. So let's get on with that. Right, so the letters are sitting in there, have been sitting in there for a few seconds now. And if I just zoom out, you want to make sure you don't want to leave them in there too long that they float away, but just to make sure that the lettering is starting to move on the paper, which it is there. So I'm going to zoom back in on the Loco, and I want to make sure the area is all dry. Just going to get a cotton bud, clean up this area, make sure there's no dust. It's going to get underneath the numbers. Right, so firstly we'll get the 08. Right, so you're going to want to get your number and gently slide it off the paper onto the Loco, like so, and adjust it to exactly where you want it to be, level with this top line here, like that, and then get a tiny bit of tissue and dab up any of the remaining water, and then get your second number, in my case 24, and do the same thing, sliding it on. Very fiddly this, so and be very careful because you don't want to ruin the numbers. And then slide the second number on, as you can see there. Right, so I'm just going to finish this bit off, and then once I'm happy with it, I'm going to show you the final thing. Right, so the numbers have dried on there now, as you can see there and there. I'm really happy with how this has turned out. Really nice job. The next step will be to weather the train in another episode, because I think this one's dragged on a little bit. So if you do want to see that, please subscribe and like and comment. I think that's all for now, so I'm just going to leave you with some shots of the final product on the track. So I hope you've enjoyed. Once again, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.